Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome humans and animal companions around you who you would like to participate or observe today. Today is a very special day of celebration. That's why I have this fun stuff behind me. As we gather to honor 5 years of Compassion Consortium, we want to begin with gratitude for those who helped bring this community into being. Our visionary founder, William Melton, and co-founders, Victoria Moran and Sarah Bowen. Their care, courage, imagination, and commitment created this extraordinary spiritual home rooted in compassion for all beings. And of course, none of this would happen quite so seamlessly without our wonderful techie Phil working his magic behind the scenes to keep everything running beautifully so we can gather together in this space. On April 25th, Compassion Consortium officially marked 5 years as an interfaith, interspiritual, and interspecies organization. But those words are more than just descriptors. They are the heart of who we are. Interfaith means we welcome people from every religious, spiritual, philosophical, or meaning-making path. Whether someone identifies as one of the over 4,000 named religions and spiritual paths of the world, spiritual but not religious, atheist, or something beautifully undefined, there is space here. We believe our different traditions hold wisdom, especially when we ask how they shape our relationships with animals, one another, and the living earth. Interspiritual reminds us that beneath many traditions are shared values: peace, compassionate service, and love for the earth community. We want to recognize and cultivate these values in ourselves and others, so we engage in spiritual practices focused on human-animal relationships, including meditation, prayer, music, contemplation, journaling, mindfulness, chanting, yoga, creative expression, affirmations, visioning, forgiveness, sacred rituals, breath work, and more. Exploring what it means to live compassion as a spiritual practice. And interspecies means our compassion does not stop with humans. When we say community, we mean all beings. Companion animals curled at our feet, maybe today, wildlife living their own sovereign lives, farmed animals too often hidden from view, animals exploited by human systems, endangered species struggling for survival, even those species already lost. We raise awareness of human-animal conflicts and how we can use both compassion and action to these situations worldwide. As this community continues to grow, so does our team. We're delighted to welcome a new member of our spiritual leadership team today, Reverend Dina Miami Lauman, who is joining us and whom you'll be seeing much more of in the future. So welcome, Dina. And speaking of growth, Sarah is not with us today, which is why I'm here, because she is quite fittingly attending the second of 2 graduations this year in her ongoing commitment to learning, advocacy, and compassionate service for animals, humans, and habitats. She is now officially the Reverend Dr. Sarah Bowen, having earned a Doctor of Ministry focused on interspecies chaplaincy, along with the Master of Science in Anthrozoology. So Sarah, when you're watching this later, we celebrate you and thank you for all you continue to do to bring this to this community. It is such a gift to be here with all of you today and mark this sacred moment together. 5 years of choosing compassion, showing up for one another, and remembering, again and again, that all beings are worthy of care, dignity, and love. To everyone here today or watching later, whether you've been with this community from the beginning or you're joining us for the first time, thank you. Your presence matters. There is something sacred about gathering like this across distances, backgrounds, life experiences, united by compassion. Over these 5 years, we have welcomed extraordinary guests, authors, activists, theologians, spiritual leaders, educators, change makers, and compassionate voices from across traditions, each helping us think more deeply, expand our hearts, and imagine a more compassionate world for animals and all beings. We've come together for Sunday services, sacred conversations, interspecies spiritual practices, blessings, prayers, book and film discussions, compassion in action, and shared everything together. We have honored animals, held space for sorrow, and celebrated hope together. Another way this community has grown is through our animal chaplaincy training program, supporting those called to compassionate service for humans and animals. And this September, our 5th cohort will begin. And if you'd ever like to revisit some of the incredible conversations and meaningful moments we've shared, our YouTube channel is there as a wonderful archive of this community's journey, full of teachings, guest speakers, inspiration, and connection. And to our Compassionists, our deepest thanks. Your generosity helps sustain this community and allows this work to continue growing, evolving, and reaching both people and animals in meaningful ways. We are deeply grateful for your care, your commitment, and your belief in what Compassion Consortium makes possible. So as we stand at this 5-year threshold, there's something sacred about simply acknowledging this, that we are still here. In a world that can be overwhelming right now, and at a time that asks so much of our hearts, we are still choosing compassion. And as we look ahead, perhaps the question is not simply what we've built, but who we are becoming. How are we being called to deepen, to expand, to love more fully, to advocate more courageously, to widen our circle of compassion even further? These past 5 years have shown us that this community is guided by something larger than any one of us, a shared intention, a sacred commitment, and a living, breathing compassion that continues to unfold. As long as we keep returning to that, we will continue to grow. So tonight, may we celebrate, may we remember, and may we recommit to this path, to one another, and to all beings. Thank you for being part of this sacred community and for helping to continue carrying compassion in the world together. And now we will, at the beginning of each service, we remind ourselves of the tenets of agreement, which this community strives to uphold. Each month we focus on one tenet. This month it is tenet number 6, and it will be read by Compassion Consortium founder, William Melton. As William reads the words aloud, we encourage everyone to take time to contemplate how the tenets can impact and influence your daily life. If you are unfamiliar with all 10 of our tenets, please read the full list at the link just placed in the chat.
Yes, number 6, we avow that humans do not own the earth, its resources, or its inhabitants, but instead must be involved in their protection and care. Thank you.
Thank you, William. Let's just take a moment to mindfully meditate on this idea. And now, Firehorse Chaplain Kari Nelson will lead us in our Interspecies spiritual practice.
Thank you, Jen, and thanks for inviting me to be here. Yes, I'm a firehorse that will be graduating and ordained next month, so I'm very, very excited. It's been a life-changing experience, and I really look forward to the future. One of our homework assignments was to come up with an interspecies practice. So as I thought it over, if you have furry friends in your house, you've probably groomed them before, brushed them, just to more for their grooming. But as I did it, I realized how calming it was for them and how much they enjoyed it. And I also started to realize how calming it was for me as well, and how I could bond with my animal and take that time with my animal. And when I received this homework assignment, I thought this is an amazing interspecies practice. So in this video, it's not necessarily a full practice, but it does give you some ideas about how you can do that. You can do that with other humans as well as animals. You can even do it for yourself if you like. So hopefully this is helpful for you, may give you some ideas and some inspiration.
Hello, I'm Kari Nelson. This is one of my dogs, Rogue, and she has volunteered to do a sacred practice of brushing and breathing. Brush and breathe, breathe and brush, however you want to call it. We have a nice little fire here. If you're going to be doing this at home, you can have a fire, you can do it outside on a nice day, wherever you're the most comfortable. You can also do this with any animal that likes to be brushed or pet, or even you can do this solo, brush your own hair. So all you need is a brush and willing participant. So we just start by getting ourselves really comfortable, nice and calm. We want to work on that calm, content, happy emotion, getting rid of any anxiety, just relax. So we just start by little pets. You always want to make sure your animal is comfortable with being brushed. I do have one dog that does not like it, is scared, so I would never do this practice with her. Then you can just start nice, gentle brushes, sort of getting a breathing going. Try to get that breathe and that breath with the same pace. So maybe we take a breath in through the nose, and then as we go down, we breathe out through the nose or the mouth. And we just want to get nice and calm. Let go of any outside thoughts. You can always close your eyes as long as you know where that brush is. Just take a breath in and a breath out. There's always an option to just use your hand, not use the brush. The more calm you are, the more calm your animal will be. Making sure you're only touching them where they're comfortable. They may have an injury, a previous trauma where they don't like to be touched, maybe on the hind end, on the head. You could do this for maybe 5-10 minutes. You don't want to do it for too long. You don't want to irritate their skin, or maybe they want to get up and move around. You can always give soft kisses. I've done this with a few of my dogs before, and I feel like it not only calms them, but it calms me as well, gets me centered, gets me focused on one single thing, gets my mind off of everything else I've been thinking about throughout the day. It also lets me connect to my animal, have some one-on-one time. Also makes their fur look pretty. So again, you choose the pace of breath. You choose if you want your hands, your brush, and the length of time to get everyone calm and comfortable. How was that, Yogi?
Thank you, Kari. I got kind of zenned out watching your companion there. It was very relaxing. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, thank you.
So, if you're not yet an official member of the Compassionist community, consider becoming one this month. Since April 25th marked the 5-year anniversary of Compassion Consortium Sunday services that we're celebrating today. Without the meaningful, sustaining gifts of our Compassionist community members, the space for gathering and reflection would not be possible. By becoming a compassionist, you become part of a living expression of compassion, nurturing reverence for animals, care for one another, and the ongoing creation of a more gentle world. Help this space continue to thrive until you're 6. And you can also make a one-time donation by debit card, credit card, Zelle, or PayPal by either clicking the donation link in the chat box or using your phone to scan the QR code that's on the screen. Thank you for walking this path of compassion with us. Over to you, Victoria.
So what a pleasure always to be here. And this is a doubly special day because we're celebrating 5 years of the Compassion Consortium. Maybe some of you were here for our very first Sunday gathering with Bruce Friedrich. who's now part of the Good Food Institute, and he was here sharing about his Roman Catholic faith and his history of many, many years of working for animals. And the double joy of today is that our guest is Jamie Logan. And as we talk with somebody like Bruce, who goes way back in the movement, Jamie is the future of the movement. I admire this young woman to the moon and back. I knew her as an animal activist from several years ago because she's been doing this, it seems, from the cradle. And now she combines her animal activism with a deep and powerful practice of yoga. So, welcome, Jamie.
Wow, thank you so much, Victoria. And thanks all of you for spending your Sunday here with us. You're so kind, and really just to walk in your footsteps and learn from you. It's been an honor to know you, to meet you, to work together. So thanks for having me today.
Well, I think that the animals are definitely in good hands when there are what are you, Gen X or Gen Z? I can't
Gen
keep my
Z.
Gen. You're Gen Z. Well, then you will see this to the end, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. So tell us a little bit about, have you always been an animal activist? Did you start out this way?
I wish. I did not come out of the womb vegan. I was just, grew up in a household where animals were eaten, worn. I didn't really know much about animal testing, and I always called myself an animal lover because I had a dog growing up who was my best friend, and her name was Daisy. And so I was super connected with Daisy, but I didn't actually connect the dots with the animals on my plate until I was about 13. So I came across a pig livestock truck on the highway when I was visiting my grandparents one summer in Indiana. And if anyone on here has ever seen one of those livestock trucks, it's pretty jarring. I mean, it's a big metal truck and there's these holes on the side. And sometimes I think maybe I had passed livestock trucks in my life, but never took the time to look inside and really see what was in there. But for some particular reason, this one time I did look, I did see it. I was ready to see it, and there were pigs inside. And I just remember looking at the pigs and looking at my dog who was on my lap and feeling really uncomfortable about it. And from that moment on, I could no longer eat pigs. And then it kind of led to, not eating cows, and then not eating chickens, and then going vegan.
And how long after that did you take this into activism and really made this your life?
Pretty quickly, I went vegan for the animals. And so when I saw what was happening to them, I was deeply disturbed and wanted to try and do something about it. I went to an AV Cube because a cousin of mine lives out in California. Her name's Alex, and she's been vegan for 15 plus years at the time, now over, I think, 25 years. And she said, come and visit me. She's older than me, so we never really connected. But when she found out that I was vegan, she was trying to get me into activism. And so I went to go visit her, and she took me to my first cube. And believe it or not, I was so shy. I stood at this event. For those of you that might not be familiar with AV, it's a form of activism where we hold TV screens that show standard practices of what happens to animals for food, clothing, cosmetics, entertainment, really all the ways that animals are used. And it's just standard practices, but it's pretty disturbing. So you hold the TV screen and then you have conversations with passerby. And so I remember I was like, Alex, I am not talking to anyone. I'm hiding behind the mask and the TV. And I was overhearing her conversations, and just the way that people opened up and even changed that day. I was like, okay, this is something I want to do. I want to help people and I want to help animals. And our voices are so much more powerful than we think. So I went back to New York. She's in California. I went back to New York started doing AV cubes there. And I did, like, I would say activism in many different forms for about 5 or 6 years before I even started filming or starting up my own organization, Jamie's Corner, which is what I do now. But I really just, I went to everything to see like what my style was. You know, maybe some of you are like, oh, I'm not a protester type. Oh, I could never go to a slaughterhouse vigil. I thought these things, but I was open to like trying it out because I was like, I just want to help animals and I don't know how. I don't know what the right thing to do is. But what happened was I started to get burned out real quick.
And I can't even believe that about you because now you're so out there. You seem to have this endless flow of energy. So what brought you back and beyond?
Yoga, Jivamukti yoga specifically. So I stepped into a yoga studio downtown on the Lower East Side, knowing nothing about it. I just decided, like, let me start practicing maybe meditation or yoga can tend to calm you down. So I've heard, I really knew nothing about it. And I had stepped into this studio only because it was close to my house, not because I knew what Jivamukti was all about. Well, I come to find out that the founders of Jivamukti Yoga, Sharon Gannon and David Life, were longtime animal rights activists. They were vegan activists who created Jivamukti Yoga as a means to talk about veganism and relate the yogic teachings, Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, the Bhagavad Gita, relate these teachings to veganism. So veganism, I found out, was actually just a way to put these compassionate teachings into action. And yoga provided me a grounding for a place to speak up for the animals that was less about ego and more about compassion and love-based activism.
That is so beautiful. I became vegetarian because of yoga. I had tried to do it when I was 13 for the animals and lasted several months. But then when I found out about yoga, which was very difficult to find out about then, there were 3 books in my local library, but all 3 books said if you're going to be serious about yoga, you have to be vegetarian. And I didn't hear about veganism for a few years after that, but there's this, it's another way, I think, to get people in. So when you look at yoga today in the West, I mean, most yogis are not vegan. Many have even given up on the vegetarian tradition. Why do you think that is? And what can we do about it?
I think it goes back to what their intention is when practicing, because truly yoga could be for somebody whatever they want it to be. If you want to get more flexible and that's all you want from an asana practice, that could be just that. If you want happiness, if you want enlightenment, you can also get that through yoga. And so it really goes back to what is your intention. And when we look at what yoga really is, I think we have to define yoga. So yuj, the root of the word, means to unite, to connect. So the question is, well, what are we uniting or connecting with? Well, what I've been taught from my teachers is yoga means to connect with God, connect with the divine, and connect with the self, the capital S. So when we are connected to that state of being, we have no desire to harm others, to eat others. We have this inner self-confidence that shines from within us where we don't need to dominate and take from others because yoga is the state of missing nothing. And so when I learned that from my teachers, I was like, I want to teach yoga. I want to teach Jivamukti yoga because I believe we can create lasting change in people. We can create quality change in people where when they are feeling this state of yoga, then they can go out into the world and create positive change from that place. And so when we look at these teachings of yoga, the first ethical principle, the first guideline Yoga has 5 yamas. It's codes of behaviors, which basically are restrictions of how we should not treat others. The yamas are how we should not treat others. The first yama is ahimsa. Ahimsa means do no harm. And the way to put that into practice in our everyday lives off of the yoga mat is by being vegan. And then there's, 4 others. I could go into them and break them down, but for the purposes of time, maybe we don't want to go there. But I think that really covers it. And I think that yogis might get confused. To answer your question, Victoria, yogis might get confused and think that the yamas are how we should treat ourselves. Because sometimes you hear people say, I need to eat meat because it's for my body, for me to feel good. Or I have to wear leather or fur because I want to stay warm. Well, actually, the yamas, the yogic teachings are not about how, the niyamas are how to treat yourself. But the yamas, the ethical guidelines of behavior, are how to treat others. And the others, it's not saying just people. It's all others, all beings.
So go ahead and give us the list, just so that people won't feel like, oh, I heard the first one. What are the others?
Sure. Okay, so the 5 are, we have ahimsa, we have satya. I'll break them down. So ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, aparigraha. So ahimsa, do no harm. Satya means truth. So do not lie. And the meat, dairy, and egg industries thrive off of lies. All they do is lie to the public, so much so that people can't even look at where their food comes from, and yet they're eating these products multiple times a day. So do not lie. Asteya, don't steal. Well, we're stealing from the animals. We're taking everything from their feathers, their fur, their milk, their eggs, their flesh, their babies, their lives. We're taking everything from them, stealing. So do not steal. Brahmacharya, it means walk with the teacher. And my teacher, Sharon Gannon, has interpreted this as do not sexually assault, do not dominate. Walk in line with acharya, the teacher. The teacher would not do these things. So ethical code of behavior. Do not dominate and put others down to make yourself feel better. Well, what are we doing to the animals? We forcefully breed them into existence to kill them. They're sexually assaulted. The dairy industry jerks off bulls, takes the semen and artificially inseminates the female just to steal her baby, and then kills them once they're born if they're male. It's domination. It's sexual assault. So brahmacharya. And then the last one, aparigraha. Don't be greedy. And we are putting a pig, a cow, the cow's milk, on a burger. In just one meal, we're stealing and taking 3 lives. So don't be greedy. And so these teachings of yoga, these are the 5 yamas. And Patanjali in his Yoga Sutras, it's not specific to who these yamas apply to. He says all beings, no matter what species.
That's perfect. Go ahead and tell us the niyamas just so we'll all feel complete.
Okay, so the niyamas, how to treat yourself. So there's sausha, which is like cleanliness. So being clean, like keeping a clean household. I also interpret it as like purity in the mind. So like being careful about what you expose your mind to and your words, your speech. So purifying that. Santosha is contentment, so learning to be at peace with what is, not constantly consuming and taking more. Tapas is having discipline, so like returning to your yoga mat even when times are challenging, or doing the activism even when it's difficult, even when it's hot outside. Get out there and use your voice, speak up for the animals because they don't get a break. And we need to be there for them. So tapas, having that discipline, choosing compassion even when it's not convenient. So being vegan even when maybe other people are not. Then there's swadhyaya, so self-study, studying scriptures and teachings, constantly looking at ourselves and asking like, how can we be better? And also looking at our teachers, like when we learn these teachings from from enlightened beings, people who have experienced yoga, Swadhyaya studying that from people who really know what they're talking about. And then Patanjali says in the Yoga Sutras, he goes, okay, if none of this all works, let's say the one step to enlightenment is something called Ishvara Pranidhana Va. And that means surrender to God, surrender to the divine. So offering your actions in service to something greater than yourself. So in total, there's the 10, there's the 5 yamas, 5 niyamas. And just to summarize, the yamas are how to treat others. The niyamas are how to treat yourself.
Well, let's talk for our last few minutes about how you do this out in the world, particularly your street activism. Now, you do a lot, and we can all read the Compassion Consortium as introduction to you on the website and what you can see here in the chat. Jamie is all over the place, YouTube, podcast, movies, million things. But what I love most about you is when I see you doing street activism, because the way you communicate with people is so kind and yet so clear.
Thank you so much, Victoria. It's come a long way. I really started off in an angry state, and I was obviously just so disturbed by the state of the world and what's happening to animals that I would go off on people and my family as well. Like, it caused a lot of just fights and not much change. And so I really had to look inward, and yoga has been that practice for me of being able to do that. And it is a practice because to be able to remain calm and steady when you're having conversations with people that not only disagree with you, but oftentimes get in your face and get nasty and make really insensitive jokes about animal suffering. When you care so much, it can be truly disturbing. And so the practice for me is I have to remind myself what my intention is. So like, I'm here to be in service to others, and I am here to really act from a place of love. So instead of looking at the people that I'm talking to as the enemy, I instead try to look at them as a potential ally. I really do try to see every single person as an opportunity to bring them, if not all the way to veganism, at least a step closer and plant the seed. So I never want somebody walking away from a conversation and being like, you know, I hate her, and because of her, I'm never even looking into this. Like, at least they can look back on the conversation and just realize, like, you know, maybe they weren't so nice in it, and kill them with kindness in a way. And I want them to feel like I'm on their side. It's not like us versus them, right? It's us together versus the system of what's happening to animals. And my Sharon Gannon, the founder of Jivamukti Yoga, and I often talk about the karma. And karma just means action. And the rules of karma is what we do unto others comes back to us. And so we were on a train together in Europe this past summer, and we were getting a tea on the train. And this woman in front of us ordered a latte with whole milk, with cow's milk. And her and I just kind of looked at each other and were like, this is our opportunity to say something, you know? And so then in that moment, Sharon and I are just looking at this woman, and she gets her whole milk latte and turns around. And there was this moment of just like staring at this woman. And I had managed to say something to her like, have you tried oat milk before? You know, it's really delicious and nobody had to get hurt for it. And I had this little conversation. But when we went to go sit back down, Sharon said to me, did you see what I just saw? And I said, maybe. What did you just see? She goes, when she turned around, I saw a mother cow. I saw her chest. I saw her turn into this suffering cow. And I said, oh my God, what if we could look at non-vegans as this, with the laws of karma, them becoming the suffering farmed animals? Maybe it's a little out there, but if we can look at them with that same compassion as we have for the animals, perhaps our activism could be more effective.
Ah, that's beautiful. Jamie, bless your heart. Are you going to be able to stay for fellowship?
What time is that until?
Till about 5:30.
Okay. I have to. I'm actually filming videos at 5. Somebody's
Oh,
coming over. We're gonna do some
okay.
filming.
Well, then follow her everywhere. You can find
Thank you.
her on Instagram, YouTube, all over the place. Um, Jamie, thank you. Thank you for
Thank
your
you so much for
time,
having me.
and thank
If
you
you
for
guys
your
have
heart.
Thank you. You too, Victoria.
Oh,
And anybody that
yes.
has questions, please reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. And if you want to take a yoga class, I teach a free weekly class on Zoom, and I talk about yoga and veganism in my classes often. So
Wonderful. Thank you, Jamie. God
thank you.
bless.
How absolutely beautiful that is. Thank you for sharing. And I'm thinking this is the good news part of the service. But the whole service, the whole Compassion Consortium is really good news. And you think about all this, I know that was, when you think about the animals, they're such a variety and just such magnificence in every creature, from the really big ones to the small ones. And so today, the good news is focusing on some of the more tiny creatures and critters. And the good news is, in a groundbreaking first, native stingless bees, and I didn't know there were such things as stingless bees, but there are. They're in the Peruvian Amazon, and they have been granted legal rights, recognizing them not just as insects, but as beings essential to life and worthy of protection. These tiny pollinators, essential to ecosystems, food systems, and biodiversity, are now being acknowledged not simply as resources, but as lives that matter. The new ordinance states that the stingless bees have a right to exist and thrive, maintain healthy populations, live in a healthy habitat free from pollution, have ecologically stable climate conditions, and be legally represented in cases of threat or harm. These tiny pollinators are so precious. They help sustain more than 80% of the Amazonian flora and have long been honored by indigenous communities for their ecological, medicinal, and spiritual importance. At a time when bees worldwide face habitat loss, pesticides, climate change, and declining populations, this recognition offers hope and a powerful reminder that compassion can expand beyond humans and should expand beyond humans to include even the smallest beings who help sustain our world. For those of us, and we are committed, it's great to gather together. We're committed to compassion for every being. This is encouraging and meaningful and good news. It reminds us that every creature, no matter how small, has intrinsic value, is beautiful, and plays a sacred role in the wheel of life. Expanding compassion to include even the tiniest beings can help create a more just, conscious, and harmonious world for all. And so we're entering into our time of blessings and prayers, our time to have a chance to share your own good news and your prayer requests and blessings here in the chat. And we'll take a look and see what everybody has to say. I'll try to see what's here. Yes, probably better than rabbits in our backyard, babies, rabbits. And now this is the time of year that every time I seem like I open up I check in my Facebook, there's always like some kind of a baby in need or some kind of wildlife need. So prayers for the wildlife out there, and lots of stories about local bunnies. We have we have Lisa's little rescues here, Lisa Beersley, who helps us take care of our little animals. So that's good news. People are out there and sharing. Anything else that you can see? So we're going to conclude today with the words we offer together each month. And you're invited to pray them with me. But it's a beautiful picture. It's the mystical, beautiful picture, closing prayers and blessings. And we pray, with our hearts, minds, and souls. May all creatures everywhere be happy and free. May the thoughts, words, and actions of our lives contribute to this happiness and this freedom for all. May it be so. Amen. Amin. Ashe. So mote it be. Am Shanti Shanti. And so it is.
Thank you, Dina.
Mm-hmm.
Now, while I read a few announcements, remember Phil has given you all the opportunity to turn on your video cameras if you'd like, and we'd like to see all your beautiful faces today as we close the service and move into our fellowship time. So please feel free to stick around and join us for our June service with the Animal Chaplaincy Training Fire Horses. Stay tuned to our newsletter for updates on the June service. You can register for next month at the link in the chat. Our next Compassionist Circle is The Stories We Carry, Ripple Effect Reflection with Reverend Dina Miami Lauman. If you are a Compassionist at any level of monthly giving, please join us for this or another upcoming Compassionist Circle. These events are especially for you to give you a small group interactive experience of fellowship, practice, and support. We look forward to seeing you next week. And don't forget all about our monthly reoccurring gatherings for vegan meditation, activist well-being, and pet loss support circle. Details are always available on our website, compassionconsortium.org, and in the monthly newsletter.